The first rule aboard the warship Eternal Dominion was simple. No one touched the Queen. The second rule was even simpler. No one touched the Queen's armor. The armor was sacred to the Valkyrie Empire, a species whose warriors had ruled entire star systems for thousands of years. Their armor wasn't just protection, it was identity, history, and living technology fused together. Each piece was grown from a rare metallic organism that bonded permanently with its wearer. For the Queen, it was even more important. Her armor had been forged centuries earlier and passed down through generations of Valkyrie rulers. To damage, it was considered treason. To repair it without permission was punishable by death, which was why the entire royal chamber fell silent when the human stepped forward. The human nobody expected. His name was Ethan Cole, a maintenance engineer from Earth. He wasn't a soldier, diplomat, or scientist. Just a technician who specialized in fixing damaged equipment on deep space stations. Unfortunately for him, the station he had been working on was attacked 3 months earlier by Valkyrie forces during their expansion through the Orion sector. Most humans had been evacuated. Ethan had been captured. Instead of executing him like many expected, the Valkyrie had assigned him to the lower engineering decks of the Eternal Dominion. Humans, they believed, were clever with machines, but they were also weak, fragile, and insignificant. So, no one paid much attention to Ethan. Until the day the Queen's armor malfunctioned. The Queen of the Valkyrie. Queen Lyriath stood at the center of the royal chamber like a living monument. She was tall even by Valkyrie standards, nearly 8 feet in height, with silver skin that shimmered beneath the soft glow of the ship's lighting. Her armor was breathtaking. A dark, organic metal that seemed almost alive, flowing across her body in layered plates etched with glowing runes. But today something was wrong. A faint flicker of blue sparks danced across the armor's chest plate. The Valkyrie engineers had spent hours trying to stabilize it. Nothing worked. The armor's internal systems were failing, which meant the Queen herself was in danger. And that was when one nervous engineer said something that changed everything. There is a human mechanic in the lower decks. The entire chamber went silent. A human? Touch royal armor? The very idea was offensive. But the malfunction was getting worse. Finally, the Queen gave a single command. Bring him. The summons. Ethan Cole had been elbow-deep inside a damaged reactor conduit when 2 Valkyrie soldiers appeared behind him. You, one of them said. Yeah. Ethan replied without looking up. The Queen requires your presence. Ethan slowly turned around. Pretty sure that's a bad sign. They didn't respond. Minutes later, he was escorted into the royal chamber, and immediately wished he hadn't been. Dozens of Valkyrie warriors lined the walls. Their glowing eyes followed him as if they were watching a very small animal walk into a predator's den. At the center stood the Queen. Ethan stopped several feet away. Well, he muttered quietly, that's intimidating. The chief engineer stepped forward. You are Ethan Cole? That's what the paperwork says. You are known for repairing complex mechanical systems. I try. The engineer pointed toward the Queen. Her armor is failing. Ethan blinked. Okay, you will repair it. Ethan blinked again. Wait, what? The impossible task. The Queen's voice echoed through the chamber. Human. Ethan looked up. Yes, Your Majesty. You are capable of repairing technology unfamiliar to your species? Sometimes. You will repair this armor. Ethan glanced at the glowing sparks dancing across her chest plate. That thing looks expensive. It is priceless. Great. He rubbed the back of his neck. No pressure then. The warriors around him looked deeply offended by his tone. But the Queen simply watched him. Do you refuse? Ethan sighed. No. Then proceed. He stepped closer and immediately stopped. Question. Speak. Am I actually allowed to touch that? The entire chamber froze. Valkyrie warriors shifted uneasily. The armor of the queen had never been touched by an outsider. Not once in recorded history. For several long seconds, the queen said nothing. Then she gave the command no one expected. You may. Gasps spread across the room. Ethan looked around. Wow, everyone looks really nervous about this. They should be, the engineer whispered. The moment everyone remembered. Ethan stepped forward slowly. The queen towered over him. Up close, her armor was even more impressive. The surface rippled slightly, like liquid metal responding to subtle electrical signals. He studied the flickering sparks carefully. Huh. What is it? The queen asked. Your armor isn't broken. The engineers looked offended. It is malfunctioning. Ethan shook his head. No, it's confused. Silence. Explain, the queen said. Ethan pointed to the chest plate. This stuff isn't normal metal. It's a bioreactive alloy. That is correct, one engineer admitted reluctantly. Which means the armor adapts to damage instead of breaking. Yes. Ethan smiled. Problem is, your systems try to heal 2 different fractures at once. That is impossible. Ethan tapped lightly on the armor. A small ripple of energy spread across its surface. See that? The engineers leaned forward. The energy flow shifted slightly. The armor thinks it's still under attack, Ethan explained. It's stuck in defensive mode. The queen tilted her head. And your solution? Ethan pulled a small tool from his belt. I need to reset it. The entire chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Reset the queen's armor? No Valkyrie had ever suggested such a thing. The touch that shocked an empire. Ethan hesitated. Before I do this. The queen's glowing eyes focused on him. Yes. I need you to hold still. Her eyebrow raised slightly. Are you giving orders to your queen? Ethan shrugged. Kind of hard to fix something if it keeps moving. To everyone's shock, the queen laughed softly. The sound echoed across the chamber like music. Very well, human. She stepped closer. Proceed. Ethan reached out carefully. His hand touched the surface of the armor. Gasps filled the room. A human, touching the queen's sacred armor. But instead of anger, the armor reacted. Soft blue light flowed across its surface. Good, Ethan murmured. What are you doing? The chief engineer asked nervously. Convincing it the fight is over. He adjusted the small device in his hand. A brief pulse of energy ran through the armor. The sparks vanished instantly. The runes glowed brighter, then settled into a calm, steady pattern. The chamber went completely silent. The armor was fixed. A queen's curiosity. The queen looked down at her armor, then back at Ethan. You repaired it in less than 5 minutes. Yeah. Our engineers worked for hours. They were trying to force it. And you? I asked it nicely. The engineers looked deeply offended again. But the queen seemed amused. You treat advanced alien technology like a simple machine. Everything's a simple machine if you understand how it thinks. The queen stepped closer again. So you believe my armor thinks? Ethan shrugged. Not like a brain, more like instincts. The queen studied him carefully. You are either very brave or very foolish. Ethan smiled. Usually both. The conversation that changed everything. Instead of dismissing him, the queen asked Ethan to remain. For the next hour, they talked. About human engineering. About Valkyrie technology. About the strange way humans approached problems. You experiment constantly, she observed. Pretty much. Even when failure is likely? Especially then. The queen folded her arms. The Valkyrie prefer certainty. Yeah, Ethan said. but certainty usually means you stop learning. That statement made the entire chamber uneasy, but the queen seemed thoughtful. Perhaps that is why humans adapt so quickly. Ethan shrugged. We break stuff a lot. And then repair it. Exactly. The queen looked at her armor again. You repaired something sacred to my people. Sorry about that. And yet, she smiled slightly. You did it better than we could. A surprising offer. Later that evening, Ethan expected to be sent back to the engineering decks. Instead, the queen summoned him again. I have a proposal. Oh. You will remain aboard my ship. Pretty sure I already do. Not as a prisoner. Ethan blinked. As what then? The queen's eyes glowed softly. As my personal engineer. The chamber erupted with protests. A human? This is unacceptable. But the queen raised a hand. Silence returned instantly. She looked down at Ethan. You touched my armor when no one else dared. Technically, you told me to. You solved a problem my empire could not. Ethan scratched his chin. So, this is a promotion? Yes. He grinned. Well, that's unexpected. The beginning of something new. In the weeks that followed, Ethan's presence aboard the Eternal Dominion changed many things. Valkyrie engineers began learning human repair techniques. Their technology improved. Their ships became more efficient. And slowly, their attitudes toward humans began to shift. One evening, Ethan stood beside the queen on the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly before them. You changed my empire, she said quietly. I just fixed some armor. No. She looked down at him. You reminded us that even ancient civilizations can still learn. Ethan smiled. Humans are good at that. Learning. No. He pointed toward the armor. Touching things we probably shouldn't. The queen laughed again. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, 1,000 Valkyrie historians began writing about the day something impossible happened. The day the alien queen let a human touch her armor. And everyone was shocked.